This
levels.
conference will now be recorded.
सचिन, मी 7 levels एक पीपीटी पाठवला होता, तो दाखवता येईल? Okay, let us start now. So hetu or etiologic factor, as we call it in English, is an important consideration while examining the patient and while treating the patient. Now, what should we call as hetu? That is an important question. If you are a molecular biologist, you will say that this particular molecule is not proper in this person. It has changed in such a way that disease is produced. But if you are, say, an epidemiologist, you will look at the big data, you will look at n number of persons, and then try to find out which factor is common to all people. Now, Sachin has already shared this presentation, which was adapted from a fable, and I would request all of you to just go through it. Once upon a time, in the far off Riyam, 7 students of art of healing were gathered for their final examination. Their mentor, who was old, wise, and greatly loved by his pupils, led them to the bedside of a patient whom they had known very well in their life. Alas, he had just given up his ghost, he had lost his life. And as the students contemplated with sadness, the mentor asked the question. I think I should not read the whole presentation. You should be able to read it from your screen. Just change the slide after a few 30 seconds, around 30 seconds. Okay. So I hope had enough time to read all the slides, but the purpose of having all these slides was to show you that causation is something which depends upon our point of view. Uh, as I was saying, a molecular biologist will say that this particular disease has occurred because this particular molecule is not proper. Whereas an epidemiologist will say that out of the 100,000 patients of this disease we see, and 100,000 other people who don't have this disease that we see, we find that this particular factor is what which distinguishes these two groups. So this must be the causative factor. For example, say um, lead in water, which comes from lead pipes, is considered as an etiological factor for heart disease. Why? Because epidemiologists have seen heart disease patients who have suffered from heart disease and who have not suffered, compared both the groups, and then found out that uh, the distinguishing factor between these two groups is water coming through lead pipes. This was well established in uh, a study on myocardial infarction. Uh, Now, there is always a debate going on whether nature is responsible or nurture is responsible, whether what we have inherited in our genes is responsible for diseases, or what we do, what we uh, eat, what we suffer from, how we look at the life, that kind of thing is important for production of diseases. Uh, so, what we call as hetu will depend upon our own point of view. If we confine ourselves to treatment, then we have to look at three kinds of hetus. One is utthana, one is yoni, and one is prakopana. In Charak Samhita Vimanasthan, Charak describes a beautiful way of looking at diseases. Usually, we study the Nidana Panchak. Nidana Panchak is a shortcut, in my opinion, because every disease should be looked at from many more angles than just 5 Nidana Panchaka elements. There are many commentators who try to compress all these details into just 5 categories. 5 categories are okay for a layperson, but when we are studying a disease, we should know what kind of person is likely to get this disease, what kind of behavior is more um, likely to produce this disease, other behavior. For example, in current COVID-19 pandemic, what kind of behavior is going to produce disease? It is going to a place where corona positive patients have uh, resided, or recently they have been there, going to a place of crowd, coming into contact with COVID positive patients. That kind of behavior increases your chances to get coronavirus. What kind of behavior will avoid that? Social distancing. That is well established. But it is not sure that if you actually come into contact with a corona positive patient that you are going to get corona. No, that is not going to happen, because there are also host factors which are responsible. Now, as I was saying, Utthana, Yoni, and Prakopana, these three things should be looked at. Utthana is something called as trigger. Whatever triggers your disease, whatever triggers an episode of disease, that is called as Utthana. For example, in Tamakashwas, a cloudy day will be a trigger for wave of Tamakashwas. There are many kinds of seasonal allergies. That particular season happening will be a trigger for that particular disease. There are many allergies. Contact with a specific substance will be a trigger for that particular disease. So, this kind of triggers are called as Utthana. Every disease will have different kinds of Utthana or triggers. Now, once we identify a trigger, it is easy to avoid it most of the times. If we don't have addiction to that particular substance. If there is addiction, then we have to think of a different strategy of avoiding that particular trigger. Uh, and we all should also think of Arishta Lakshanas in this case. If Arishta Lakshanas are present, then it is possible that Vinasha Kale Viparita Buddhi, person will get a desire to come into contact with something to which he or she is allergic. So we have to look at that also. But uh, the point I wanted to elaborate was, for each and every type of disease, usually there are some triggers or utthana karana. Now, second is prakopana. What turns a hetu into a vicious cycle? That we have to see. It's something which is cause and effect, which is which perpetuates the vicious cycle of behaviors. And Ayurveda has clearly described the three prakopanas, that is asatme indriyartha sanyog, pradnyaparad, and parinam. Now, asatme indriyartha sanyog, something which is not suitable for your sense organs. This kind of asatme sanyog can be of uh, can be divided into three types. Hina yoga, if in current isolation, current social distancing, you are deprived from mm, physically meeting your near and dear. So you have a kind of hina yoga of sparsha that is desirable in current situation, but when you are suffering from hina yoga of a particular indriyartha, then you crave for it. If you are in a uh, dark chamber, you crave for light. So different desires occur due to this hina yoga, and hina yoga also produces many psychological changes. In fact, for intractable mm, mental disorders, there is a device called as sensory deprivation chamber. When a person enters this sensory deprivation chamber, all his bodily maintenance is taken care by various machines, fluids, and everything. Person is floating on a liquid, isotonic liquid, so that there is no sense of gravity. Chamber is sealed, so there is no light, no sound, nothing, even no touch, nothing. Sensory deprivation chamber. And this chamber was initially developed for astronauts, uh, so that they can be able to cope with zero gravity. They can survive space travel, and that was the purpose of designing of those sensory deprivation chambers. But curious thing that was found was persons coming out of those sensory deprivation chambers were either extremely sane and balanced, or they were completely mentally disturbed, and um, their compulsory hospitalization in and confinement to a mental hospital due to schizophrenia was required. So this sensory deprivation, it's definitely a cause for mental disruption. This may take a good turn if a person is continuously thinking wrong thoughts and some such things. His thought process is distorted, then this sensory deprivation chamber will restore it. But if a person is suffering from lack of self confidence, he is not sure about himself or herself, this sensory deprivation chamber will trigger a breakdown. So that kind of thing has happened. So we have seen the Hina Yoga of Indriya. Ati Yoga of Indriya, we always see in all our Indian processions, like say Ganpati Visarjan or Holi or um, Krishnashtami, Dahi Handi, that kind of thing. There is tremendous sound. People who organize such events don't listen to voices of other people, and they go on producing sounds which are 100 and 150 decibels, like that. Even Supreme Court directives are not sufficient to curb this kind of thing, and every year many people suffer from deafness uh, after these processions. That is the sad truth. So sensory deprivation is a culprit. Sensory overload is another culprit. More important is mithya yoga, which is wrong kind of stimuli. This we can see in some mobile applications like PUBG or uh, what what was that? The people committed suicide while playing that particular game. That kind of thing is mithya indriyartha sanyog. So asatma indriyartha sanyog is something which we can deal with comparatively easily. If excessive sound is there, we can isolate the patient where there is no sound. Patient will recover. That kind of thing is possible. For mithya indriyartha sanyog, it's really extremely difficult because it involves not just sensory organs but mind also. And then this mithya indriyartha sanyog will enter into realm of prajnaparad. Now prajnaparad is responsible for many kinds of lifestyle disorders. There are people who are taking antihypertensives, antidiabetics for mm, so many years, and as the time goes, they will require more and more treatment, more and more powerful drugs. But if the doctor looks at the real reason of these lifestyle disorders, he will find that most of these lifestyle diseases are due to prajnaparad. We can divide prajnaparad into three. One is dhibhramsha. I have already told you about vinashakale viparita buddhi. So, if we find that the disease is due to we should look at the Arishta Lakshanas. If Arishta Lakshanas are present, then Dhibhransha is very difficult to treat because Vinasha Kale Viparita Buddhi, patient is not going to listen to you. And in that case, you will have to resort to very drastic measures. Means, if patient has Dhibhransha and is addicted and he's craving for whatever drug he's taking, you will have to forcefully isolate him and stun him and transport him into a facility where there is no possibility of getting that particular substance, and then treat him in a closed facility. Or we can have pranabhaya. Sarva dukkha bhayebhyopi param pranabhayam smritam. That is what is said in Charak Samhita, and that is true. When I was studying in second year or so, at that time there were two very popular methods of treating schizophrenia. One of them was electroconvulsive therapy, and other was insulin coma therapy. In both of the therapies, patient uh, was treated in such a way that he came to a threshold where he was in the danger of losing his life. Once you take the patient to the brink and bring him back, there are really dramatic changes in the patient. In schizophrenia, many of the patients um, got um, true disruption in their symptoms, true recovery from schizophrenia. And when I saw that, I realized that this statement, Sarva Dukkha Bhayebhyopi Param Prana Bhayam Smritam, is really true. Even on molecular level, when there is a threat of death, all the disruptions go away, neurotransmitters levels get restored, and patient's behavior and outlook changes dramatically. This is very true. So, if Dhibhransh is there and you find that Arishta Lakshanas are there, then you have to think of such harsh measures like threatening the life by different means. In Ayurveda, it is said that you should uh, throw the patient in front of lions, of course, tame lions who won't kill that person, but patient will feel threatened, or you uh, throw the patient in front of snakes whose poisonous teeth have been removed. The idea behind that is threatening the life. Patient should feel that this threat is extremely true, real threat, and only in that case patient will uh, stop whatever Dhibhransha he is suffering from. If condition is not that much severe, you can use different techniques to deliver proper information. You can use various education techniques to educate the patient that and deprivation can be controlled. Wrong information is definitely a culprit in many of the diseases. Many myths of many diseases are there, and these myths are very strongly rooted in the psyche of the patient. So you find out whether the patient is suffering from some such mm, belief, which is wrong. So in that case, you will have to think of something to
नक्कीच झालं
for the
नको तिथलं ट्राय करत
proper
बसायचं म्हणजे राहायला नको ना काय जरा पुरवायच्यात ना ह्या टिकवायच्यात एखादा महिन्यात
Dhruti Bhransha is something which is seen in many of the lifestyle disorders. Patients are unable to resist the wrong lifestyle. They don't have the courage to face the needed changes. And Dhruti Bhransha is difficult to correct. See, if the patient is pravara sattva, then patient can be educated and taught that you are not going to die from abandoning such and such things like that. But if the patient is madhya sattva, then you have to think of creating a support group. You have to think of repeatedly counseling the patient. And if the patient is alpa sattva, you will have to monitor the patient in very intimate manner. Usually, you will have to take help of family members. You have to train the family members, and then it is a team effort to correct the dhruti bhransha. Behavioral psychotherapy is designed in such a way that patient's courage gets a boost. And the basic principle of that therapy is reward and punishment system. So for Dhruti Bhransha, we can think of a system where good behavior, um, abstaining from wrong behaviors will get a reward, and breaking the rules, the patient will get punishments. These punishments need not be very harsh, but they should be felt by the patient. Means, if a doctor says to the patient, if you don't do this, I will not talk with you. Patients will say, okay, I will go to another doctor. Patient will not feel that pinch. But if there is, say, a school going child, and his mother says that if you don't do this, I'm not going to talk to you. That kind of punishment will be felt by the patient, and that will be effective. So for each and every patient, you have to think of various rewards and punishments according to the situation of the patient. So Dhibhramsha and Dhruti Bhransha is covered. Now the third element is Smruti Bhransha. Now Smruti Bhransha, you can set up reminders. Your mobile will give you warning or notifications. Your uh, relatives can give you reminders. That kind of thing are possible. For Alzheimer's patients, you may have to use some devices like location devices. These Alzheimer's patients may go for a stroll and get lost, and then it becomes very difficult to search them. This particularly happens when Indian parents are visiting their children in, say, US or Europe, and tracking the lost parents is a very bad experience. But location devices, if they are used, people can usually find out the missing person and bring him or her home. So for Smriti Bhransha, general Smriti Bhransha we can say as in Alzheimer's disease, but Smriti Bhransha for lifestyle disorders is patient just doesn't remember that he has suffered in the past by this behavior. So reinforcement, then punishments, rewards, that kind of things are needed for Smriti Bhransha. Now, Dhruti Smriti Bhransha together are called as Prajnaprad, and Prajnaprad is the root cause of the diseases, particularly lifestyle disease. Asatma Indriyartha Sanyog we have already seen, and this is an important hetu for Agantu Vyadhi, whereas Prajnaparad is a hetu for Nija Vyadhi. Now, third kind of Vyadhi is, third kind of hetu is Parinam, or things which are bound to happen due to age, due to time. Now, in this regard, we can think of the diseases in terms of their their place in the life. Means graying of hair is bound to happen in old age. But if this graying of hair is happening in at the age say 25 or 27 or 15, then we will call it as a Kala Vyadhi, a Kalaja Vyadhi. And if a Kalaja Vyadhi is there, then we have to think of strong measures. Strong rasayana should be given. We can think of Bhallatak rasayan or Shilajatu rasayan or uh, even Kuti Praveshik rasayan, or any kind of strong remedial rasayan uh, to prolong or postpone uh, this kind of a Kalaja Vyadhi. If it is Kalaja Vyadhi, then we should take general care of the patient so that disease is not aggravated. We can use rasayanas, but these rasayanas should be very minimal, uh, very saumya. Means taking Chyawanprash is okay, taking Amla is okay, but taking Bhallataka is not for very old age. In older age, we should try to facilitate as many physiological functions as possible to proceed naturally. And most important things in old age will be taking care of your bowels. No constipation should be the rule in old age. Then adequate sleep, adequate nutrition, that kind of things uh, should be taken care of. Particularly Asthi and Majja Dhatu and Shukra Dhatu are important in older age. So this is what we can say as Prakopana. Now, Prakopana as a term is used all over Samhitas for many different things. But when we are looking at the Nidan as told in in Charak Samhita Vimanasthan, then we should uh, remember that Prakopana in this sense means Pradnaparath Parinam and Asatme Indriyartha Sanyog. And in the same sutra, there is something called yoni. Now, yoni of a particular disease is the dosha responsible for that. In my last lecture, I had told in detail about how dosha nirupana should be done. Means prakruta vaikrut, prakruti vikruti, anubandha, ashayapakarsha, various kinds of gati, kshaya, sthana, vriddhi, uh, shakha, koshtha, marmasthi, sandhi, urdhva, adhak, tiryak, all kinds of details about dosha were described. One thing that was not covered in that lecture was the guna vichar. Now, you see, vata dosh is chala as well as shita. Now, chala will increase the movements and shita will decrease the movements. So, if the vata prakop is due to chala guna, then we will see more and more movements. Whereas if the vata prakop is due to shita guna, we will see symptoms like stambha. So we have to look at the gunas of various doshas. Now there are some gunas which will go in two directions. For example, shita guna may increase vata dosh, shita guna may increase kapha dosh. Or the third thing that can happen is it will decrease the kapha dosh, decrease the pitta dosh. So guna um, can work in different manners. And one thing about guna is guna cannot be mm, cannot be measured or assessed by pratyaksha praman. Guna is always an anuman. See, karma is something which we can see, which we can measure, for which we can develop instruments and everything. Karma we can measure in extreme fineness. We can bring to our measurements, but guna is anuman, and there is every chance of our going wrong when we are doing anumana. Anumana praman is something not uh, easily understood by many of the people. Means, of course, everybody knows that Anuman requires um, Pratijna, then Sadhya, then Hetu, then Paksha. Um, uh, Everything, most of the Ayurveda students may remember after learning them in the first year. They may remember after 10 years practice, but most of the people don't remember. Uh, and this is something I want to elaborate in today's lecture. Uh, you see, most of Vedas have an obsession with some particular hetu. In last 40-45 years, whatever I have observed, almost every Vaidya has his or her own favorite hetu, and Vaidya will treat every patient by assuming that particular hetu is there. He will not examine his assumptions. Suppose a young hostelite is taking his everyday lunch and dinner in the hostel mess, and there is a small bowl of curds in every meal. Usually, in most of the mess or canteens, this is the usual practice. So that particular student will be having some curds. Now, whatever happens to that uh, student, he gets some injury in the field games that he is playing. He goes to Vaidya that I am suffering from this kind of injury. The Vaidya will ask him, do you eat curds at night? Student will obviously say yes, every day. Then the Vaidya will not even see whether that Vrana is Shuddha Vrana or Dushta Vrana. He will immediately advise that student that don't eat curds at night. Nothing else will be inquired. This has happened in my observation. Some Vedas are obsessed with preservation of Shukra Dhatu. In their thinking, every disease that occurs is due to Shukra Kshaya. And then that way they will ask the same injury student whether you masturbate. Of course, that student is living in hostel. He is young. So most probably he will be masturbating. So again he will tell yes. Then the Vaidya will not see whether the Vrana is Dushta or Shuddha. He will just advise that student about avoiding masturbation, give him some Shukravardhak drug, and he will go on believing that every patient, whatever he is suffering from, is due to that Hastamayatu. Now, some people are obsessed with mm, Atyambupan. For every patient, they see and find that patient is drinking more water. And for each kind of ailment, they will blame that Atyambupan. Now, this tendency of obsession with a single hetu is, uh, I have, I'm very sad to say that I have found it in almost every kind of Vaidya. Now, I have observed practices of more than 50 to 60 Vaidya families. They have Ayurveda in their families for 5 generations, 7 generations, like that. And every family um, has all its practice tailored into some particular way of thinking. It is a school of thought, and sadly, each school of thought is slightly distorted. That is what I have found, and most of these distortions are to do with this obsession about a particular hetu. Now, according to Ayurveda, what can be termed as a hetu? The clearest definition is सेति कर्तव्यता को रोगोत्पादक हेतु निधानम. Whether iti kartavyata or not, that is one important consideration. If there is no iti kartavyata, then the person may be susceptible to some disease, or in future that person may suffer from that disease, but that doesn't mean that particular hetu, particular behavior or food can be termed as hetu. So seti kartavyata, or occurrence of disease, is an important prerequisite for um, labeling anything as hetu. Now, uh, this seti kartavyata, uh, or iti kartavyata, we can say, that occurrence of disease, mm, or manifestation of disease, is something which may happen, may not happen. Patient may be susceptible or not susceptible. So, it is difficult to gauge the strength of the hetu by this seti kartavyata. The strength of hetu mm, is a relative term. Strength in terms of what? A pradhamika hetu is something uh, which overcomes all kinds of variations in the patients. Patient may be young, patient may be old, patient may be strong, patient may be weak, patient may not have any disease, patient may be suffering from various diseases. This pradhan hetu will override every consideration. So jitatmana, all that things which make disease sukha sadhya, they will not prevent that person from getting a disease by pradhanik hetu. Pradhanik hetu, as in case of say this COVID-19, that virus is the pradhanik hetu here. In the same way, poisoning. Suppose it is a food poisoning. Every person who has consumed that food, poisoned food, is going to suffer. So in that case, individuality of the patient is immaterial, and such kinds of hetu are called as pradhanika hetu. Now, mm, exact opposite of this pradhanik are the hetu called as something which are called as vyabhichari hetu. Vyabhichari hetu are etiological factors, but they don't produce the disease in each and every individual. They produce it only when the host defenses are lowered, when patient is immunocompromised, and when patient is durbala. These hetus, Vyabhichari hetus, will be sufficient to produce a disease. In normal terms, normal life, these are not able to produce a disease itself. But when immunity is compromised, when patient is durbala, then these Vyabhichari hetus will attack and produce diseases. Many of our gut flora, microbiome in our gut, they go on living nicely throughout our life. They don't produce any kind of disease. But once the immunity is compromised, those same symbiotic bacteria will become pathogenic bacteria. This is particularly seen in patients with HIV. In HIV, an important feature of HIV is opportunistic infections. These infections are called as opportunistic infections because in normal course these bacteria will not produce disease, but in immunocompromised patients these diseases will occur. A very good example is herpes simplex virus. Herpes simplex virus is ubiquitous. It is everywhere, but it will attack a person only when immunity is compromised. So such kind of hetus which are dormant, which don't produce diseases in each and every patient, but whenever they have an opportunity, they will attack. This kind of hetu is called as Vyabhichari hetu. So Pradhanika and Vyabhichari are two extremes of strength of hetus. Pradhanika are very powerful hetus which mm, affect the people irrespective of whatever initial conditions in the patient are. Whereas Vyabhichari hetus are weak hetus, usually not sufficient to produce a disease, but in certain cases those patients who have become weak, whose immunity is compromised, then only those Vyabhichari hetus will attack, will produce a disease. So, Pradhanik and Vyabhichari are two extreme ends of the spectrum of disease. Power, on the spectrum of strength of the disease, strength of the hetu. Most of the hetus will be in between. Means they will require some kind of situation where immunity is weakened. They will require a certain threshold strength. And if everything matches, means the strength is above some threshold and immunity is compromised to a certain level, disease will be produced. And now in this category, we have two different kinds of hetus. One is called as Viprakrishta hetu, the accumulating hetus. They will what we can say, they will chip away the strength of the patient for maybe years together. Some may take many years to produce a disease, but they will be persistent hetus. They will produce some small damage, and when that damage will occur over accumulate over a large span of time, over the years or over the season, then the hetus will reach a threshold and then produce a disease. So this kind of Viprakrishta hetu, they have three, they can be classified into three types: Chirotpanna, Chiratarotpanna, Chiratarat. Chirat, Chiratarat, that kind of thing means something which can be identified in near history. We will say that Chirat Utpatti. The disease Hetu occurred 3 months back, and then after 3 months, the damage has accumulated in such a way that disease has occurred. We can really identify the hetu. It is remote, but still identifiable. Here we will say that it is chirakari hetu, whereas some hetus will take years together to build up. And here we say that the hetu is chirakari, but not just chirakari, chiratarotha vikarkari. So accumulation takes place over years. For example, young women are taking contraceptive pills for a few years. They stop their contraceptive pills. After many efforts, they will get pregnant. They will deliver the babies. Those babies will grow. The girls girl babies will get to puberty, and then we find that at puberty they have some disease, and the cause of that particular disease is traced to the few years of contraceptive pills that their mother has taken. This has been recorded. This kind of hetu have been recorded. So here the hetu is chiratara chiratarotha vikarakari, not very easily traceable. For this, we need to analyze the data of n number of patients. Very big data analysis is needed to find out this kind of hetu. Now, for Ashukari Vikar, we have something which will produce the disease in a very short span of time. Upon entering the body, it will trigger a chain of events by which the doshas will go from Chaya Avastha to Prakop to Prasar to Sthana Samshraya to Vyakti very rapidly. These are usually something which trigger the diseases. So, and these are called as Sannikrushta Hetu. So, we can think of diseases, uh, not diseases, the Hetu, according to distant or remote Hetus as Viprakrushta Hetus and near Hetus or Sannikrushta Hetus. But usually we will find a combination of both. The Viprakrushta Hetus are preparing the body for the disease. They are leading the body towards the cliff. And Sannikrushta Hetus are something which will push them over the cliff. So Sannikrushta Hetu, when combined with Viprakrushta Hetu, when combined with Sannikrushta Hetu, will produce a sudden occurrence of a disease. The disease occurrence can be identified at a particular time, but its origin lies in the behavior of the patient in remote past. So, this four kinds of hetu we have seen: Sannikrushta, Viprakrushta, Vyabhichari, and Pradhanik. Then we have also seen the three kinds of hetus, that is Asatmendriyartha Sanyog, Pradnya, Aparadha, and Parinam. There are many other kinds of hetus. Rug, Dosha, Ubhaya Karana. One classification of hetus is Vyadhi Karana, Dosha Karana, and Ubhaya Karana. Now, this is something uh, where the pet or favorite hetus of people of Vedas come into real playground. Most of the dosha karana are whatever favorite hetus of these Vedas are, they are dosha karana. They trigger a particular dosh. But triggering a particular dosh is not something which will produce a particular disease. Same dosh can produce different diseases in different places. That we have seen. स एव कुपितो दोषो समुत्थान विशेषतः स्थानांतराणि च प्राप्य विकारान् कुरुते बहून्. So samuthana visheshatha is according to different trigger or triggering factors or etiological factors. So that will change the guna property of dosh, and that will produce different kind of disease. Then sthanantara, same dosh, same kapha dosh. If it is in amashaya, it may produce pandu. If it goes to Hridaya, it may cause Rudrog. If it goes to, say, Pakvashaya, same Kaphadosh will produce Pravahika. So, depending upon the sthan, the dosh will produce different disease. And for all these diseases, there will be some common causative factors. And those will be triggers of that particular dosh. So, dosha karana is kind of general class of etiological factors, and general class is a general class. You should not ban anything. You should not lock down each and everything that causes particular dosh, uh, because we need all the three doshas. If we exclusively ban something, uh, then it will produce wrong situations. For example, I will always tell that example of the ban on alcohol in United States. I give this example many times. So in a presidential election, one of the US president came to power with a promise to ban alcohol in US. He banned alcohol by a law all over United States. Production, transport, and consumption of alcohol was banned. What happened? Organized crime skyrocketed. Various front businesses were initiated, say, playing card club. That kind of outer business was there, and inner business was actually supplying alcohol. What we call in India as hadbhatti, what is called in US as moonshine. That kind of production of illegal alcohol skyrocketed. Everything was controlled by organized crime. These organized crime syndicates became so powerful. They asked for protection money from various citizens. Alcohol was going on in almost every village and city of US. Alcohol was available to those who wanted it. They had to pay exorbitant money and everything. The most important effect of this alcohol ban was rise in crime, extreme gang wars took place, because which organized crime syndicate is going to control which area? That became a point of contention. Gang wars took place. Crime rose to a very, very high level, and America had to repeal that Alcohol Ban Act, Prohibition Act. So please be very careful when you are prohibiting a patient from taking something. People blame curds for many of the diseases, but they don't look at the benefits of curds. It is very rich in proteins. It is useful in Vishamajvara. It is a food item. So there are many benefits also. Almost for each kind of hetu, there are some benefits. Because if there is no benefit, such behavior cannot originate or cannot be sustained. That is the principle of evolution. For everything to come into existence, there must be some advantage to that particular behavior. Otherwise, that particular behavior will not come into existence. That is a very basic principle of this evolution. So, for every behavior, every food item, there is some value, and while labeling it as a hetu and banning it, we may be depriving the patient from its benefits also. Alcohol is one of the things many people blame for many diseases. But alcohol has its place in human society. Madhyam saumanasya janananam, that is what Tarak says. How to uh, drink alcohol. Ayurveda describes in detail. There are many benefits of taking alcohol, but it is very difficult to maintain sobriety or rational thinking about the alcohol intake. Usually it goes on increasing, goes beyond the threshold level, and then it becomes a madhya lalasa or addiction. So, in some situations, madhya will be beneficial. In some situations, it will be harmful. It is wrong to label anything as totally wrong. Uh, Anuyayat pratipadam sarvadharmeshu madhyamam. That is what Ayurveda says. And this is also true in case of hetu. Now, uh, as we were saying, dosha karan, all the favorite hetus are usually dosha karana. Some are roga karana. Specific disease is going to occur due to specific hetu. These are usually agantu type, like Vibrio cholerae causing cholera. That is vyadhi hetu, a particular hetu and particular disease. mrudbhakshanajanya pandu, mrudbhakshan and pandu. Then dvishtartha chardi, dvishtartha and chardi. So or makshika bhakshanajanya chardi, that kind of thing where specific hetu is there, specific disease is there. But these examples are few. Most of the etiological factors will fall into a category called as ubhaya karana. They will produce a particular dosh and lead to a particular disease. Uh, the classical example which is given in tikas and everywhere, it's हेतु of वातरक्त हस्ति उष्ट्र अश्वैः गच्छतः च अश्नतः च, like that means when your legs are suspended, moving, and you are eating, so all these three things happening simultaneously will cause to a condition called as vatarakta. This movement and yam yam are called vata dosh. Then eating while moving is cause of rakta dushti, and all these combined together will cause vata rakta. Now, in modern medicine, for each kind of risk factor or etiological factor, there is a gradation. How much risk a particular behavior carries? That kind of calculations are done by something called as cohort study. Now, cohort studies are a cohort is a group of people having some common feature, and such cohorts are uh, observed over the years. The best example of this cohort study is Framingham heart disease study, Framingham cardiac study. Framingham is a small village near Boston in US, and this village, the medical school in Framingham, is observing a group of people for more than 60 years now. Every year, Framingham study report comes out. Every 10 years, a very detailed analysis comes out, and they have identified many of the risk factors for heart disease. And this has come over a period of 60 years. A very strong data is there. Strong, very large amount of observations are there. Unfortunately, these studies require tremendous funding, and in country like India, this kind of cohort studies are extremely difficult to carry out. But cohort studies are a good way to identify hetus. Instead of having one's own favorite hetu, we should observe the patients more and then try to pinpoint what is the hetu. In Ayurveda, the methods of ascertaining that something is hetu of something else. The first requirement is obviously the hetu will occur first, and whatever is karya or the disease will occur later. So there should be a clear history of hetu sevana. That is a first requirement when we blame something as hetu. Hetu sevan will occur first and disease will occur afterwards. Then hetu bala, vyadhi bala, that should also match. Stronger the hetu, stronger the vyadhi. That kind of association should be found. If hetu is mild, then vyadhi is mild. If hetu is strong, vyadhi is strong. That kind of association we should find. Then next thing is, when the hetu is stopped, the vyadhi should get cured. So whenever hetu is stopped, the disease process should stop. If that happens, then we can say that this particular thing is hetu for this particular disease. Suppose we are in some hall and we don't want a particular tube light, so we go to the switchboard and try to switch off all the switches one by one. The one switch which, when switched on, will make the light on, and when it is switched off, the light will go off. That particular switch is the hetu for that particular light. That kind of thing should happen. So when hetu is stopped, the disease should stop. When hetu is triggered again, the disease should happen again. So that kind of uh, associations should be found. In Ayurveda, we have three different kinds of methods. One is Anvaya Siddhi, another is Vyatireka Siddhi, and third is Anvaya Vyatireka Siddhi. In Anvaya Siddhi, what we observe, we give the hetu, we find that disease occurs. We give stronger hetu, stronger disease occurs. This is Anvaya Siddhi. In Vyatirek Siddhi, we stop the hetu, the disease is stopped. We uh, stop the hetu for a long term, disease will not reappear. That is Vyatireka Siddhi. And in Anvaya Vyatireka Siddhi, there is hetu, there is disease. Strength of the hetu, strength of the disease. Hetu is stopped, disease stops. Hetu is given again, or there is a relapse in Nidana Parivarjan, there is a relapse in the disease. So that kind of siddhi is called as Anvaya Vyatirek Siddhi. Dear friends, if we look at the Cox postulates about etiological factors, we find the same thing. There is nothing different in Cox postulates and Anvaya Siddhi, Vyatirek Siddhi, Anvaya Vyatirek Siddhi. So whenever we are labeling something as hetu of particular disease, we should follow the procedures of Anvaya Siddhi, Vyatirek Siddhi and Anvaya Vyatirek Siddhi, and after that we can label something as a hetu of a particular disease. Now many people will think that what about the hetus already told in Samhitas? If Samhita says that this particular thing is hetu of this particular disease, then why should we question it, and why should we not assume that this particular is hetu or not? Friends, it's true that in every Samhita for every disease there is a long list of hetus given, but not all the hetus are found in every patient. While doing chikitsa, we have to arrive at a nidan, and during that nidan or rugna pariksha, we will inquire about whatever hetus are told in grantha. We will have a checklist with the help of granthas. But when a particular hetu has occurred, does it signify that that particular hetu is the only thing responsible for the disease? Usually that is not so. Some hetus will be very mild. Some hetus will be very strong. Some hetus will be frequent. Some hetus will be uh, occurring rarely. Some hetus may be only a single event, or some may be going on over years. So we have to classify all the hetus given in Samhitas into Pradhanik, Vyabhichari, Sannikrushta and Viprakrishta. If we don't do that, then just having a checklist of Granthik hetus will mislead us. I can give you a number of examples of this. Uh, mm, okay, just now my chain of thought is breaking. That's why I won't go into the examples of this, but uh, मिथ्याहार विहाराभ्याम dosha hi amashaya shraya, that kind of samprapti is given for jvara. So mithya ahara and vihara, that is a very long list. Almost everything under the sun, including the sun, comes under mithya ahara and vihara. So for jvara, any kind of hetu can be there. So unless and until we divide those hetus into something pradhanik, where individual host factors or individual sara, prakriti, agni, nothing is important. If pradhanik hetu occurs, patient is going to suffer. That kind of hetu is there, or is it something which is opportunistic and it is happening due to old age, or something which has accumulated over time, or something which has a specific trigger just now, like that. If we don't divide the hetus into Sannikrushta, Viprakrishta, Vyabhichari, Pradhanik, we don't get an understanding about the strength of the hetu, and one should go beyond that and find out about asatma indriyartha sanyog, prajnaparad and parinam. And then the third thing we should once again see is what are the triggers, what events will trigger the manifestation of disease. So for every disease we should look at prakopana, that is asatma indriyartha sanyog, prajnaparad and parinam. Then yoni, what dosh and what combination of doshas, by what guna, in what stage, like ashayapakarsha or some such thing. So yoni. And third thing is utthana, that is triggers. So for establishing hetus of each disease, when we look at what is given in the Samhita, we should try to classify each of those into first thing Sannikrushta, Viprakrushta, etc. Then Prajnaparat, Parinam and Kal. And third is Nimitta Karan and Samovayi Karan. Samovayi Karan of every disease is Dosha and Dusha. But Nimitta Karan or triggers we should look at. I hope I have given you a better insight into what is a Hetu. Now I request all of you to raise various questions that you come across, or the questions which were triggered by my speech. So questions please.
कोणाला काही प्रश्न असतील तर विचारू शकता, माईक ऑन करून.